Welcome to the third module in the Unit 5 for optical communication. We were seeing about synchronous optical networks. SONET is the TDM optical network standard for North America, and SONET is called synchronous digital hierarchy, it is SDH, in the rest of the world. It's the basic physical layer standard, and other data types such as ETM and IP can be transmitted over SONET. OC1 consists of 810 bytes over 125 microseconds, whereas OCN it consists of n numbers of 810 bytes over the same 125 microseconds. Linear multiplexing and demultiplexing is possible with add-drop multiplexers. The SONET or SDH standards enable the interconnection of fiber optic transmission equipment from various vendors through multiple owner trunk networks. The basic transmission rate of the basic SONET signal is STS1, that is synchronous transport signal level 1. So the data rate will be calculated like this, that is 90 bytes per row. So in each byte we will have 8 bits, so in each row 90 bytes and 9 rows for each frame, so 8 bits for each byte. So producting all these, it is 90 bytes per row, 9 rows per frame and 8 bits for each byte, and this divided by 125 microseconds for each frame. So when you get that, the resultant data rate will be 51.84 Mbps, that is megabits per second. And in SDH, that is a synchronous digital hierarchy, the basic rate is STS3. So 3 into 51.84 Mbps, which is 155.52 Mbps. So this diagram, it shows the basic format of STS-N SONET frame. So we can see that we have n number of columns, so 90 rows, so 90 into n number of columns we have, so 9 rows. So in the bottom we can see the overhead, it is of 3 into n number of columns, and the n columns will be for used for the path overhead, and the remaining 87 column, that is the 87 columns which we use for SONET payload envelope, that is payload is the data, so the data will be present for the 87 remaining columns. So the only 3 is the overhead, that is which will add the information of the where it reaches, that is which source is sending it, so source address, destination address, all these overhead will be added to the initial to the frame, and after following these overheads, your payload, that is the data, will be present. The next is basic format for STM-N SONET frame. So n number of frames we will have, so 9 rows, totally 270 columns, and we are having 9 for overhead, and the remaining 261 are for the data, that is with the payload, that is with the data. So payload envelope is for 261 cross n columns, and among that your data will be stored, and the n first initial 9 columns will be having the overhead for this packet. The common values of OCN and STM-N. The OC stands for the optical carrier, and it has become common to refer the SONET links as the OC links. So automatically it is referred to the carrier, number of carriers present there. The basic SDH rate is 155.52 Mbps, and we saw the calculations for that, and it is called the synchronous transport module, that is the level 1 STM1. So here different SONET levels and the corresponding electrical levels and their data rates are being given. So for each OC levels, that is for a carrier of 192, the corresponding STS level is STS 192, and in SDH it is STM 64, and the line rate is 9953 Mbps, and totally the common rate will be around 10 Gbps. So in this way it will be transmitted for each level of SONET. And Next we are going to see about SONET add drop multiplexers. SONET ADM is a fully synchronous byte-oriented device which can be used to either add or drop the optical carrier subchannels within an OCN signal. So here we are seeing the diagram of this, that is OC3 and OC12 signals which can be individually added or dropped from an OC48 carrier. So totally you have 48 carriers there. So these ADM are the add drop multiplexers. So the OC12 and path. So wherever we want to add a path, we can add it, and if you want to drop the already present OC signals, you can drop the OC signals. So here it is shown, that is how you are adding and dropping the signals channels or of OC carriers, and you are dropping it. So all the solid lines here, it denotes the OC12 path, and the dotted lines, it shows the OC3 path. So SONET SDH rings. The SONET and SDH, it can be configured as either as a ring or a mesh structure. SONET rings or SDH rings are self-healing rings because the traffic flowing along a certain path can be switched automatically to an alternate or standby path, but following the failure or degradation of the link segment. So if any failure or degradation is found, it automatically finds an alternate path to reach the particular destination. So all the nodes here, it will be connected like a ring like pattern. So in a circular pattern it will be connected, and it will find an alternate path if there is any failure in between along the nodes or in the paths. So when the path is having any issue, it will find an alternate path. So, and so it is called as they are called as self-healing rings. And the two popular SONET and SDH networks are, that is 2-fiber unidirectional path switched ring, which is called as 2-fiber UPSR, and the 2-fiber or 4-fiber bidirectional line switched ring, that is 2-fiber or 4-fiber BLSR. Generic 2-fiber UPSR with a counter rotating protection path. So this here it shows the diagram of a 2-fiber UPSR with a counter rotating protection path. So here 4 nodes are shown, and all the primary paths are denoted by solid lines, and all the protection paths are denoted by dotted lines. So if a particular node, here an example, node 1 is being transmitting and the node 3 is receiving. So the primary path it chooses and it reaches the receiver. So if the path is having any issue, then it will choose the second path. So the alternating path is the protection path which we will use. So this is also an example for 4 nodes transmitting the data, and the total capacity is OC12. It is divided into 4 OC3 streams, and the OC3 is called a path here. So from node 2 to 4 and node from 1 to 2, it is shown in the red in color, that is 1 to 2 it is traveling, and from 3 to 4 another data, 2 to 4 another data is being traveling, that is shown in purple in color. So generic SONET networks. So in generic SONET networks, here you can see all the OC lines which have been connected with the BLSR, that is bidirectional switch radios, and here we can see how the backbone which will be connected with all the OCs. So when many number of OC3s it's connected to the OC12, and number of OC12s now connected to the OC48, and then it is connecting with the wide city wide. So this is all these OC3s are used for local area network. So from the LAN it is being connected to all the OC12 links, and from there it is connected with OC48, which is be connecting many number of cities together, and then the national backbone, to that it will be connected. So it is showing the versatile SONET equipment that are available that support wide range of configurations, bit rates, and the protection schemes also made for that parallelly. the passive optical networks. In general, there is no optical to electrical conversion between the transmitter and the receiver. So only one continuous light path in the PON networks, that is your passive optical networks. And only passive elements are used to configure the network. So power budget and rise time calculations has to be done from end to end. So we use different methodologies, topologies for that. That is either star topology, bus topology, ring topology, and mesh and tree topologies are present. So currently the PON networks, that is PON access networks, are deployed while widely, and the world PON means mainly the access networks only. So the PON will still need the higher layer protocols, that is either Ethernet or IP, and that is the internet protocol, to separate the multiple users. So in the bus topology, that is we have many number of stations which will be connected linearly, and all the optical couplers will be coupling all the stations to the linear line. So like a bus like structures, this all the stations will be connected and it will be attached. The next is the ring structure, where all the stations will be connected in a ring like pattern, and the same way your optical couplers will be connected in a pattern of ring structure, and the station attachment lines will be connected to the main trunk lines. So fiber optic trunk lines will be connecting, and that will be connecting all the station through it. Next is star, tree, and bus networks. So tree networks are widely developed in the access front, and in star pattern, from the central entity all the nodes will be connected. And the tree networks are widely developed in the access front, and tree couplers are similar to the star couplers, and the expansion is done only in one direction, so no splitting is there in the uplink. So bus networks are widely used in LANs, whereas ring networks are mostly used in MANs, that is metropolitan area networks, and designing the ring and bus networks are similar mostly, that is LANs and MANs. So the network, various network elements present in the PON, that is passive power coupler or splitter, which will have number of input or output ports, and the power is split in different ratios. That is a 2 cross 2 3 dB coupler or 80-20 coupler examples. The star coupler, it splits the incoming power into number of outputs in a star network. And add or drop bus coupler, which will add or drop the light wave to form an optical bus. In the bus topology it will be used. And optical switch is, it diverts the incoming light wave into a particular output. So wavelength routing, the limitation in their wavelength, it is overcome by wavelength reusing, wavelength routing, and wavelength conversion, that is lambda reuse, lambda routing, and lambda conversion. As long as the logical paths between the nodes do not overlap, they can use the same wavelength. Most long haul networks use the wavelength routing, and wavelength routing requires optical switches, cross connects, etc. So this diagram, it shows your wavelength routing, that is from each end stations, that is end station are the nodes, and the circles, it denotes the routers through which your data is going to be routed to the particular destination. So from the end node 1 to 2, we can see the signal is being traveled in the wavelength lambda 1. The same frequency, it is being reused for the other lines, that is from 2 the data is being traveled to 3 with the same wavelength. So the same wavelength is reused, and from 5 to 4, that is from the end station 5 to 4, the signal is being traveling, and that is of a different wavelength, that is lambda 2. Next we can see about optical add or drop multiplexing. So an optical add or drop multiplexer, it allows the insertion or extraction of one or more wavelengths from a fiber at a network mode. Most OADMs are constructed using WDM elements such as series of dielectric thin film filters. An AWG, a set of liquid crystal devices or a series of fiber Bragg gratings used in conjunction. Bragg gratings are, that is normally in the files we will have the lines etched in it. That is, files means which we use to polish metallic, that is ionic surfaces, and we will have the lines, those lines which are 45 degrees present and are parallel present in the surface, those are called as Bragg gratings, and they are used in conjunction with optical circulators. So the OADM architecture, it depends on factors such as the number of wavelengths to be dropped or added. The OADM modularity for upgrading flexibility and what groupings of wavelengths should be processed, all these will be decided by this OADM. So this diagram, it shows a simple passive optical add drop multiplexer. So we can see here the input to this demultiplexer are lambda 1 to lambda n, that much number of wavelengths we are using, and randomly we can see lambda I and k are dropped, some lambda I and k some value, that is maybe 42 or 43, some values randomly it is dropped. All the other wavelengths will be routed in the as usual route. And if you need to add some other wavelengths, yes, it can be added also. So both adding and dropping of wavelengths can be done in between the multiplexing and demultiplexing. So that can be done, and the remaining signals will be traveling. So reconfigurable OADM, that is also called as ROADM, that is add drop multiplexing. So ROADMs can be reconfigured by a network operator within minutes from a remote network management console. So even from a distant place it can be operated, and some wavelengths can be added and some can be discarded. So adding or removing both can be done. So dropping also can be done at distance places. So it is remotely operated. So ROADM architectures, it include wavelength blockers and arrays of small switches and wavelength selective switches. So what are the features present in ROADM? So first one, it is wavelength dependence. So when a ROADM is independent of wavelength, it is colorless or has colorless ports. But when it is depending on wavelengths, we will have color codings in the optical fibers. So depending on the colors only, the signals will be classified for each wavelength in the color codes present in the optical fiber. Next is ROADM degree. It is the number of bidirectional multi-wavelength interfaces that the device supports. For example, a degree 2 ROADM has 2 bidirectional WDM interfaces, and a degree 4 ROADM supports 4 bidirectional WDM interfaces. And the next parameter regarding the ROADM are the express channels. So these channels will allow a selected set of wavelengths to pass through the node without the need of optical to electrical to optical conversion. So without the need of OEU conversion, it will transmit some signals. So these are called as express signals. So it will reduce the time of conversion between this optical and electrical and optical conversion. So that time will be reduced, and so it is called as express channels. And the simple ROADM configuration, it uses a broadcast and select approach. So here it's a diagram of ROADM. So in the first thing, that is your input wavelengths, we can see number of wavelengths from lambda 1 up to lambda n is being transmitted through the amplifiers, and coming to the couplers, it couples the signals. Further, any multiplexer will be using it. So 1 to n optical power splitter are present. So if you want to drop any number of channels, so those signals will be dropped here. So fixed or tunable filters, optical filters will be used, and that particular wavelength alone will be dropped. So the remaining channels, it will be traveling through the wavelength blockers, that is your multiplexer and demultiplexer. So it will be traveling, and express channels without any conversion, it will be transmitting. So it will be very fast. And coming to the receiving side, again have optical couplers. So whenever you want to add a signal, again you have to use a optical coupler, add those channels to that, and again it has to be transmitted. So wherever we need to drop a signal or add a signal, that is add a wavelength to the existing wavelengths, we can add or drop, and that is the use of this. So reconfigurable means we can adjust this and do this add and drop from any remote place. Next is optical burst switching. So optical burst switching provides an efficient solution for sending high speed bursty traffic over the WDM network. So bursting means bulk of data. So some bulk of data will be transmitted, which means very high data rates will be transmitting, and that is done by optical burst switching. So this is also handled by the wavelength division multiplexing networks. So bursty traffic has long idle times between the busy periods, and in which a large number of packets will be arriving in the transmitting path from the users. So it will have higher data to be transmitted. So the bulkly suddenly from a number of users, if you are receiving such packet, you call that as a bursty data. That is bursty traffic. Traffic is resembling the data that is going to be accumulated in the channel. So in this diagram, we are going to see the optical burst switching. So burst switches will be present to handle the heavy data flow which is traveling through the network. So edge routers are present, and all these are, that is your control packets are also being traveling, and your data packets are also traveling, and optical burst switches will handle all these burst data and will be helpful for transmitting the data among the networks. Next are optical cross connects. So these cross connects, so it's also called as OXC, that is your cross connects. It works on the optical domain, and it can route high capacity wavelengths, and it switch matrix is controlled electronically. So electronically it can be controlled. So incoming wavelengths are routed either to the desired output ports, or it can be dropped. So for output ports means from ports 1 to 8, and if you are going to drop, we use the ports from 9 to 12. So local wavelengths can be added, and contention happens then both incoming fibers will have a same wavelength. Contention is the collapse of your data if they are coming with the same wavelength. So if two channels are using the same wavelength, automatically your data is getting collided, so that you call as contention. So with the same wavelength is coming from both incoming fibers, then the contention will occur. So that can be handled by this optical cross connect. So you can see here the wavelength switches are electronically configured, and the wavelength conversion is done to avoid the contention. So if two wavelengths, so here you can see both are coming as lambda 1 and lambda 2. So some cross connects are happening while they switch in the the wavelengths. When it is switched automatically in the multiplexer, we can see lambda 1 or the both signals are lambda 1. So automatically wavelength converters will be used, and it will be corrected, and now we can see in the multiplexers the inputs are lambda 1 and lambda 2. So it automatically converts, and the correct wavelengths will be traveling through the multiplexers. So in this way we can avoid the contention. If both lambda 2 are coming to the second multiplexer, automatically both are having same wavelength, so your data will be colliding, and that is called as your contention. So we convert the wavelength to different wavelengths, so automatically your data are not collided. Next is IP over DWDM. So early IP networks, it had a redundant management functions in each layer. So this layering method, it was not efficient for transporting the IP traffic. So an IP SONET DWDM architecture using the multi-protocol label switching, that is MPLS, provides for the efficient designation, routing and forwarding and switching of traffic flows through the network. So it will help for finding the route and forwarding the packet. So the three layers which is present are your IP layer, next is SONET or SDH layer, that is your optical communication layer, then comes your DWDM layer. So this will manage the and help the IP again for enhancing, that is the internet protocol will be helped for again not getting the data to be collided, and it will be perfectly routed and forwarded to the required destination. So these are the layers, that is your basic physical layer, then comes the optical adaptation layer, and in the basic physical layer only normally we do all the functions, your bits will be transmitted. It performs the functions like optical amplification, wavelength switching and conversion, and add and drop multiplexing. And the optical adaptation layer, it manages the WDM channel setups and takedowns. It provides some level of ring protection and recovery. And then we have the SONET or SDH layer, then ATM layer, and then the IP or MLS. So it has a high degree of framing overhead and 4 layers of management to avoid the collision among the data. Next is optical Ethernet. The IEEE, it has approved the 802.3 AH Ethernet in the first mile, which is called as EFM standard. The first mile is the network infrastructure which will connect the business or residential subscribers to the CO of a telecom carrier or a service provider. So 3 EFM physical transport schemes are there. They are individual point-to-point links, a single point-to-point link to the multiple users, and a single bidirectional PON, that is passive optical networks. So here this is the diagram which gives you the picture of depicting this Ethernet, optical Ethernet, that is you have a centralized station there. So from there individual homes are connected, so that you call it as individual point to point connection. So either we will have optic fiber lines or copper lines, earlier it was, so now it has been converted to optic fiber lines. Next is single point to point fiber lines, so which will be connected many number of homes or buildings, so which will be done by switching, there is a local switch. Next is a single bidirectional optic fiber, and that is using splitters, and it will be having 1 to n optical splitters which split up the signals to various areas, so that high number of areas are large number of areas will be covering under this one splitter. So these shows the Ethernet private, that is a passive optical network. So it ranges up to 20 kilometers. Thank you.